Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Agriculture Society's process for completing the 2025 annual return and grant application. My name is Erin Watt, and I'm an economic and business advisor with the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Agribusiness. I'm happy to be moderating tonight's session, and I'm joined today by other experts on the call who are available to answer questions. This presentation is being recorded and will be made available to agricultural societies along with the slide deck following tonight's presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to invite my colleague Rashad to do our land acknowledgement.
Hey everyone, I'm Rashad. I know we have people from all across the province, so I'll be doing this acknowledgement in relation to my current location. I would like to acknowledge that I live in Toronto, Ontario, which is located within the boundaries of Treaty 13, the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I respect and honor the Indigenous peoples who cared for this land and continue to act as stewards of the soil, water, animals, fish, and plants. I'm grateful for these lands, which I call home. Any attempt to steward the land must be done in the spirit of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, and it must therefore be inclusive of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis voices. Canadians from all walks of life are responsible for taking action on reconciliation in concrete ways, working collaboratively with Aboriginal peoples. Reconciliation begins with each and every one of us, to quote the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. I commit to learning more about the Indigenous history of this area, being an ally to support reconciliation and not repeating the mistakes of the past. Thank you.
Thanks, Rashad. So a few housekeeping items before we begin tonight. We're in a Zoom meeting, which means your microphones and cameras have been turned off for now. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat. My colleague Rebecca Fortenbacher will be answering chat questions as we go along through the presentation. We'll open up the voice and video options during the Q&A period, if you prefer to ask your question verbally. Tonight's session is scheduled for an hour, and we'll do our best to address your questions. If we do go over time, we can address questions in the chat by email following the presentation. You can also contact us at the email and phone number that's on this slide if you have questions that you prefer to ask outside of this presentation. So today's objectives is to provide an overview of the annual return and grant application, to inform you of what has changed and what is new for this year, provide information about the annual return requirements and eligibility, to demonstrate how to navigate the TPON system and the application form in Adobe, and to discuss any questions or concerns related to the annual return intake. So annual reporting requirements. Before we get started, I'd like to emphasize the importance of submitting your materials before the deadline of 11:59 p.m. on February 1st, 2026. So when planning your annual general meetings, keep this deadline in mind as it's critical to complete the AGM and have financial statements ready before the deadline to ensure eligibility for funding. If you have extenuating circumstances preventing you from meeting this deadline, please contact us as soon as possible to discuss your next steps by emailing ahoa.admin@ontario.ca. You will not be permitted an extension unless the circumstances are outside of your control and could not have been prevented. Additionally, I would encourage all of you to review the program guidelines and watch the YouTube videos that we'll provide for you in advance to ensure a smooth submission. You would have received copies of the program guidelines and links to the YouTube videos that were attached in the November 3rd program launch email. So banking information updates. This is a reminder that if your organization has made changes to your banking information, for example, change of address for check deposit or change to electronic funds transfer details, or you would like to register for EFT, it's critical that you inform OMAFA by email at ahoa.admin@ontario.ca to initiate the process. For those currently receiving payments by check, we encourage you to consider switching to your payment to EFT for faster payment. And this also reduces the chance of a check being lost in the mail or delayed because of postal disruptions. Please ensure that you register and update your society information before the intake closes. And keep in mind it can take a few days for those changes to be processed. So make your changes well in advance of February 1st. The first update to the annual return application is in the payment information section. So in this section, it indicates how your society is registered for payment, either EFT or check. So you'll need to indicate that you've reviewed this information and inform of any changes that have been made. So you can email ahoa.admin@ontario.ca for payment updates and requests. There is a new checkbox at the bottom of this section where you can indicate that you've reviewed the information and that your payment address is the same as your organization address. And it's shown here highlighted in yellow. So why is it important to file your annual return? According to the Agriculture and Horticultural Organizations Act, it's mandatory for organizations like yours to provide the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, or OMAFA, with an annual return if you wish to remain incorporated. The annual return is essential to maintain your status as a nonprofit organization, remain in good standing with the ministry, and also to remain eligible to apply for grants. So even if your society is not applying for grants, submitting an annual return through TPON is crucial to ensure you remain incorporated under the Agriculture and Horticultural Organizations Act, or AHOA. Annual grants are available to any agricultural society who ensures their eligibility by meeting the following criteria. So they are incorporated under the Agriculture and Horticultural Organizations Act, or AHOA, and they work to advance its objects and complies with the requirements of the Act, has submitted their 2025 annual return form, financial statements, along with an auditor's certificate or financial review certificate, and a list of incoming 2026 board members, all by 11:59 p.m. on February 1st, 2026. As well, you maintain a membership of 40 members, as outlined in the Act, and also holds an annual general meeting, or AGM, prior to the annual return and grant application deadline for the fiscal year just ending. Now we'll go over some details about the annual grants. There are 5 grant aspects that we'll go over briefly tonight. For more information, you can refer to the program guidelines shared with you by email on November 3rd. So the first is the Agriculture Fair or Exhibition Grant. This grant supports expenses related to the staging of an annual fair or exhibition. The maximum amount is based on 1/3 of eligible expenses, or 2/3 in Northern Ontario, to a maximum of $3,000 per year. For supporting documentation, please provide detailed information on expense amounts, description, and the location of the expense in the financial statements. This grant calculation is automatically calculated in the form where the proportion of the grant for local amateur talent and farmstead improvement competitions must not exceed 1/3 of the total grant requested, with a maximum of $1,000. In the agriculture and food exhibitions, demonstrations, and competitions eligible and ineligible expenses, this part of the grant, you can claim activities and expenses related to agriculture and food exhibitions, demonstrations, and competitions, including livestock competitions, crop competitions, farm fresh food product competitions, home craft and cultural expression competitions, youth competitions, and non-competitive classes competitions. Eligible activities and expenses include monetary prizes, ribbons, trophies, and judging costs. Please refer to the guide for more information. In the amateur talent portion of the grant, you can also claim activities and expenses related to staging the amateur talent program. Eligible activities and expenses include monetary prizes, ribbons, and trophies for amateur talent competitions, as well as equipment rentals. Ineligible activities and expenses could be costs that are not associated with a competition, and fees for professional or amateur performers, such as bands, musicians, and local music talent, and fees for amateur competitions unrelated to agriculture, for example, car shows, soapbox derbies, demolition derbies, as well as administration and overhead costs, promotions and affiliations, and sanctioning fees. So some more changes to the application form. Under the annual return eligible expenses section of the application, there's a new section for the amateur talent competitions, which indicates eligible expenses. If you have more than one cost per category, please make sure to indicate all costs in the description box. And you can see they're highlighted here in yellow and broke out from the amateur talent competitions. Under the farmstead improvement competitions, these are competitions that encourage the beautification or improvement of local farms and the rural community, and those can be claimed. Eligible activities and expenses include roadside decorating competition, local business decorating competition, and prizes. You can refer to the guide for more information. Under the improvements and repairs grant portion, so this grant is for permanent renovation and repair projects, which is advancing the objectives of the society. The maximum amount is $2,000, covering 25% of the expenses paid out by the society for improvements and repairs related to leased or owned grounds and buildings used by the society. Please provide detailed information on expenses and their location in the financial statements. And all expenditures claimed must have been paid out to qualify. Under the improvements and repairs grants, eligible and ineligible expenses. So eligible activities and expenses include permanent landscaping costs, renovation costs, permanent structure costs, and repairs to any permanent structures. The list you're looking at is available to you, so you can find that in the program guide. Another change to the annual return grant is the eligible expenses section of this application for improvements and repairs. There's a new portion where you can indicate eligible expenses for this section. And if you have more than one cost per category, please make sure to indicate all costs in the description box. And you can see here, highlighted in yellow, they're broke out a little bit more than what they were previously. Another change under the compliance section of the application, you'll notice the addition of a new checkbox at the bottom of the activities of compliance list, where you can indicate that your society did not undertake any of the above activities. So by checking this box, you're indicating that you're submitting a return for compliance purposes only. There was also a change to the dates of the annual fair or exhibition section. You'll notice the addition of a question that states, did the society hold a fair or exhibition in 2025? You can use the drop-down button to the right of the question to select yes if your society did hold a fair or exhibition in 2025, or select no if your society did not hold a fair. The third grant is the wet weather grant. So this grant is for situations where heavy rainfall reduces the total revenue earned from ticket sales at the annual exhibition. To apply for this grant, you will select the box under Section G of your annual return form. The most you can get is $1,000. We compared this year's fair's ticket sales with the average of the previous 3 years in normal weather. So please do note that for this claim, you do not have to include admission revenues from special events such as dances or grandstands not related to the entry of the exhibition. The fourth grant is milestone celebrations. So OMAFA acknowledges the efforts of agricultural societies and offers the Centennial and Sesquicentennial Certificate for significant milestones. To invite the minister or your local MPP to an official ceremony, your society is responsible to send an email. Contact information is shown here, and you can also check the guide for more information on how to do this. So the Centennial Grant provides societies marking their 100th anniversary who can apply for funding to create a lasting memorial structure or plaque. The eligibility is determined by the society's incorporation date, and societies can receive, or are eligible for a one-time payment of $1,500. Claims submitted with copies of invoices and a photo of the structure are eligible. There is the Sesquicentennial Certificate, which is for societies celebrating their 150th anniversary. It's a similar process, and the eligibility is determined by the society's incorporation date. So the last portion or last grant that's available is the Promoting Agriculture and Food Careers Initiative grant. So this provides funding to agricultural societies that promote careers in agriculture and food at their events or fairs. There are two claim options. Under option 1, societies display and distribute existing promotional materials at their fairs and events. This is the boxes or kits that you would have received from Agscape. If this year you have done that, eligible societies can claim $500 for each fair day, up to a maximum of $5,000 per calendar year, for a maximum of 10 fair days annually. You'll submit a claim for this in Section H of your annual return form. Under option 2, societies can claim if they create their own materials to promote careers in agriculture and food. You will be eligible to claim this only if you receive written approval from OMAFA. Refer to this section in the guide and the website for more details on eligible expenses, costs, and funding guidelines. So we'll shift gears and talk a little bit about TPON. So to access TPON, you'll need to log in through a My Ontario account. If you've filed before, please use your existing account. If you are a new user and have never logged on to TPON before, you should create your own account, but ensure you join an organization and not register as a new organization in the system. If your society will already be registered in TPON, and if you create a new organization, you will not be able to file an application. Once you log in, you'll then have access to the agriculture and horticultural grant application. In the annual return package sent, you will find helpful resources like guides and linked videos to help you in navigating Transfer Payment Ontario, or TPON. The TPON guide provides step-by-step instructions on using TPON, Adobe, and My Ontario accounts to ensure a smooth and successful submission process. The annual return application form is available in TPON for download. Please be aware that this form must be completed using Adobe Reader or Adobe Pro. Other software, such as your internet browser, will allow you to open the form, but you are not compatible to save the information that you input. So to access and complete the form, follow the steps in the program guidelines. If you've attempted to download the PDF form, but upon opening the file, you encountered the error screen pictured here, then it is opened in your internet browser instead of Adobe. To resolve this issue, open the File Explorer by first right-clicking on the file before opening it and use the Open With command. Then select Adobe. This should allow you to open the PDF form. If you don't see Adobe in the list of programs, you don't have Adobe installed on your device. So to download Adobe, you can open an internet browser, i.e. Google Chrome. For step-by-step instructions on how to download a free version, view our guide to downloading Adobe, or follow this link that's shown here on the slide. After the form opens in Adobe Reader, save the form to your computer in a location of your choosing, and then you can work on completing the application at any time. So we'll talk a little bit about filling out the form. When you're using Adobe, the form sections will resemble what you see on the bottom of your screen here. All societies need to complete sections A through G and I in the annual application. The YouTube video sent to you in the program guidelines walks through filling in this form step by step. And we will also play this video at the end of today's session for your usage. Some updates have been made to the following sections. So in the payment information section, this indicates how your society is registered for check by EFT or check. You will need to indicate by clicking yes or no that you've reviewed and updated the information, and indicate if you've made any changes to the payment information for your organization, and make sure that the payment information is the same as the organization address. In section C, application contact information, if you would like to add a second contact, click the Add button. To include the contact information, click the contact status dropdown to indicate if the contact is current or a future contact. And in the E section of the budget, under Agriculture Exhibition Grant and section B, Amateur Talent Competitions, there's been boxes added with costs that can be described for monetary prizes, ribbons, trophies, as well as equipment rentals. Under Improvements and Repairs Grant, this can be described for permanent infrastructure costs, such as permanent landscaping expenses, renovation expenses, permanent structure expenses, and repairs to permanent structures. And section F, compliance, an additional box has been included where you can indicate if the society did not undertake any of the activities outlined in the AHOA Act, therefore indicating the annual return is being submitted for compliance purposes only. And in section G, dates of the annual fair exhibition, you can check yes or no, or select yes or no if the society held a fair or exhibition in 2025. If yes, include the required information about the fair. So for complete submission, you must upload specific documents along with your annual return application in TPON. So the 3 additional documents are 1, the executive officers and directors listing for 2026. Please note that it's critical that you use the list for 2026 rather than 2025. Please ensure the listing includes complete addresses, including postal codes, phone numbers, and email addresses. The second document is the annual financial statements. These statements should contain the same information that was presented in the Society's annual meeting, and must include, at minimum, a statement of receipts or disbursements at the end of the fiscal year. This should contain sufficient detail to allow for clear and direct comparison with the figures submitted in your application. A statement of assets and liabilities at the end of the fiscal year, and a reconciliation of accounts. You can use the templates that are provided by OMAFA, or you can use your own templates. The third document is a report from the auditors or a financial review certificate. A society's financial records must be reviewed for the protection of both the treasurer and the society members, as well as to ensure proper management of the organization. The auditor's report or financial review certificate must be completed with signature and date before the AGM. Your society must provide one of the following types of documents: either an independent auditor's report. So this report must be from a professional accounting firm and should be on their company letterhead. Copies are acceptable, and please note that a notice to reader report from an accountant is not considered acceptable. Or you can provide a financial review certificate. So the financial review certificate template can be found in TPON, and it is attached to the package that was provided to you. This document is to be signed by 2 financial reviewers who must not be on the board or executive members, and must not be related to one another, and must also not be related to the treasurer. When you're submitting, we strongly recommend reviewing the resources provided to you to ensure your submission is complete. The annual return guide is particularly helpful when filling out the form, and the annual intake package contains financial templates and linked resources, including the TPON guide and the videos that we'll show today. You can also download the annual return guide and TPON guide directly in TPON. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us. If you have questions about eligibility, expenses, and funding for program support, please reach out to ahoa.admin@ontario.ca or call 1-877-424-1300. For any issues or technical support related to My Ontario account and the TPON application, contact TPON Client Care on weekdays from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., excluding statutory holidays, using the numbers provided, or you can email tponcc@ontario.ca. On your screen, you can see a comprehensive list of the support resources, including guides, videos, and training sessions, which are also included in the packet. As mentioned earlier, please refer to these provided supports. For example, if you need to make changes to your banking information, it is linked in the resources section. And again, please reach out to us if you have concerns about the program eligibility or funding. You can contact OMAFA via email at ahoa.admin@ontario.ca or by calling the support center. And again, for technical support related to My Ontario or TPON, reach out to TPON Client Care. We are looking forward to receiving your submissions by the specified deadline of February 1st. So we have a few minutes for questions. So TPON specific questions, they might be answered in the video that we're going to play next. So if you could just hold those questions until after the video is played. You can ask your question in the chat feature, or if you prefer to ask it verbally, we can unmute you and you can go ahead and ask. You're welcome to email your questions to program support at the email and phone number that was provided also in the chat. In respect of everyone's time, if you have to leave the session, you certainly can. Any that want to remain on the call, you're welcome to stay, and we'll continue to answer more questions as they come in. And after the question period, we'll play the TPON video, and that hopefully will help answer some questions. And yeah, so I'll let you answer any questions if you have anything there, Rebecca.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Fortenbacher, and I'm a colleague of Aaron's. So I have been monitoring the chat and answering a few questions. We did get one last question that I haven't been able to respond to in the chat, but I can answer it for everyone here. So there was a question from Charlene about, are compilation engagement financial statements acceptable? Now, I believe this is referring to where a CPA or a professional accountant would finalize your financial statement. If that's correct, what I'll say would apply. If not, please let me know. But in terms of where the CPA could support, this would be acceptable. So we allow two different options to submit the financial review. We have a financial review certificate. We have provided the template in the launch email on November 3rd. The template is also available on TPON that you can download, or you can always email us if you can't find it anywhere. So if with the financial review certificate, this would have to be signed by two members of your society. They just can't be on the executive or board, related to one another, or related to the treasurer. However, if you are getting your financial statements completed by a professional accountant or firm, they can fill out an independent auditor's report or potentially the compilation engagement statement. This would typically be attached at the beginning of your financial statement. And if it is done by a professional firm, it would be on professional company letterhead, and that would also suffice. So we do allow those two options. But if you do have any further questions about this, Charlene, or if anyone else has any questions, let me know. And that is all the questions that we have in the chat right now. So perhaps we can continue with the video, and if there's any other questions during the video, put them in the chat, and then we will also have an opportunity at the end of the session for further questions.
All right.
Hello and welcome.
Sorry, I'm just going to make this bigger for everybody.
Welcome to OMAFA's Agricultural and Horticultural Society's annual return and grant application training. Today I'll be walking you through how to complete your application in our Transfer Payment Ontario system, also known as TPON. The first thing you'll need to do is to log into the TPON system using your internet browser, preferably Google Chrome. The web address to type in is www.ontario.ca/getfunding. When we get to the landing page, there's a blue button at the top which says Log into Transfer Payment Ontario. This will take you directly to the system. If you wish to get additional resources helping you with your application in the system, please feel free to browse the page for additional resources. At the bottom of the page, there's a Contact Us section, which has both a phone number and an email address that you can contact a live agent at the hours available on the page to get additional help with logging into the system or with navigating the system, or if you have any technical challenges. We'll go back to the top of the page and we'll select the blue Login to Transfer Payment Ontario button. This will take us to the login screen. If you've never logged into the system before and you need to create a new account, you'll use this green tile and select Create Account. There are guides at the top of the page to help you along with this process. If you have logged into the system before, you'll click the Sign In button on the right-hand side. Here, it'll ask you to type in your login credentials. And then we'll select Sign In. It will then need to send you a verification email to the registered email address on file, so we'll click Send Me an Email. Within a minute or two, you'll receive an email which will have the code that you'll need to enter into this box. The email should look something like this, and you'll be looking for the verification code that I've highlighted here in this instance. You can copy your unique code and enter it into that box. Then we'll select Verify. Now we're logged into the TPON system. The first thing we'll want to do is view or update our organization by selecting this tile. We'll then select our organization name in the list. And now we'll be brought to a page where we can review any of the information recorded about our organization. In particular, you'll want to click on the Address button and review your address that's on file in TPON for your society. If any of the information is incorrect, please type in the box and update the information, and then select the Save button at the bottom of the page. If you've verified that everything is correct, we can go back to the main menu by selecting Menu at the top of the page, and then selecting Home. Now we're ready to submit our application for funding. We can select the See Funding Opportunities button, and again, we'll select our society's name from the list. There are a few options available to us. To submit a new application, we'll click the Submit for Funding button. In this case, we're looking under the invitational programs for my organization, and then we'll find the appropriate program that we're looking to apply to. We can select the New button, or if it's displayed as a card, you can select the tile that it has listed. Now we're in our application for the program. There are 4 steps available at the top of the page. The first one is to review the program information. The second will take us through downloading and uploading our completed form. The third is where we'll attach our supporting documents. And the fourth will be confirming our submission. So in the first step, which we're in now, there are a few documents that you're able to review or download as needed to help you in submitting your application. The first resource helps you with using TPON or Adobe if you need to download an updated version of the software. The second document is a financial statement template. It is not mandatory, but it is there to be used if your society does not have their own financial statement documents. And finally, we have our financial review certificate, which needs to be signed by 2 individuals if you don't have audited financial statements from a CPA. Once you've reviewed these documents, you can go back to the top of the screen and select Download and Upload Completed Form. This will take us to step 2. If you're having any issues with downloading your form, please ensure that your browser's pop-up blocker is disabled and that you're using Google Chrome. We can then select the Download Form blue button, and a pop-up will again prompt us to download the form. We'll then select the Download blue button again, and the form will automatically download to our device. On my computer, it's automatically downloaded into my Downloads folder. We can see it at the top. It'll give the file a name that will look similar to this. We can open this form by right-clicking and then using Open with Adobe Acrobat.
The form will open in Adobe looking something like this if you do have Adobe downloaded correctly to your device. If you have a different message coming up, you might need to download the latest version, or you might be opening the form in your internet browser. And it's important you follow the steps we just went through to ensure that you're opening with Adobe. Once you get to this screen, you'll be able to expand the form using the Expand button, and then you can begin filling out the form. Before you start, we would recommend that you save a copy to your computer with the name of your choosing to a location of your choosing. That way, you'll be able to fill in the application in a number of different sittings, come back to it, and enter new information as you go. You'll notice the instructions here at the top. Please note that there are 3 parts to this application. There's the annual return section, which is required to maintain your incorporation status under the AHOA Act. Then there's the annual grant application, if you're looking to receive funding under the program. And finally, we have our Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership, promoting agriculture and food careers initiative, if you are approved to proceed with this initiative in 2025. There's also a reminder that your auditor's report and/or financial review certificate must be completed, signed, and dated before your annual general meeting. This next section is payment information. Your society must be registered in TPCR and TPON before proceeding. It must be current and match this application to receive a grant. This will display how your society is currently registered for payment, either by EFT or by check. Please verify that this is correct. If this is incorrect or you would like to update your banking information, please ensure that you contact us by emailing the email address listed here at ahoa.admin@ontario.ca to begin that process. Once you have reviewed the banking information above, you can click this box to indicate that you have validated this information. You will also have to indicate whether your payment address is the same as your organization address by choosing either yes or no from the drop-down menu. The organization address can be found below in section B and is automatically filled in and displays the information from your TPON registration. If the address is the same as your payment address, please click yes. If it is not, please click no. And if it needs to be updated, please do so in TPON. Section A indicates the organization information. There will already be some information displayed about your society from the system. If there are any errors in what is displayed, you will need to go back to the Organization tab that we visited at the beginning of the session and update the information. We can then fill in the mandatory fields, which are noted with a red asterisk. I'm going to fill out my district number, and then location, I will put Southern Ontario. Section B is the organization address information that I mentioned prior. Please ensure that this is accurate, and if need be, please update this information in the Organizations tab in TPON, save the information, and download a new application to ensure this reflects what your current address is. Section C outlines the application contact information. You will need to indicate the first name, last name, email address, a phone number. You can indicate their position title, whether they have a fax number, and if they are the signing authority. You must have at least one signing authority who will digitally sign this form in the last section. Please also confirm their contact status. In the dropdown, you will select whether this is a current contact or a future contact. For future contacts, they will only receive correspondence for the upcoming intake, so you can use this field if you know that there's going to be a new volunteer in the role for next year. If you use current contact, they will receive information for both this application and future applications. In this case, I will select that this is a current contact. If you would like to add an additional contact, you can use the Add button above and fill out all the required information. If you need to remove a contact, you can use the Remove button. In Section D, this is where you will input some of your society information. Please indicate the number of members in your society during 2025. In order to receive a grant, your society must have at least 40 members. If your society does not have 40 members, you can still submit this application for compliance purposes. Please fill out the annual revenue for 2025, the annual expenditures, the total number of volunteer hours, and the date of your annual general meeting. Please note that your AGM must be held prior to the deadline of February 1st in order to be eligible to receive a grant. Then we can proceed to Section E, which is if you are looking to receive funding under this program. Please provide all of the details from your financial statements, and if it's not visible in your financial statements, please ensure to attach a separate breakdown of these expenses. We can go line by line and enter the dollar amount for each of these items, the location in the financials, and a description of the expense. Please note that there are two main grants for agricultural societies. So there's the Agricultural Exhibition Grant, which is further broken down by 3 grants, and there's the Improvements and Repairs Grant. For Agricultural and Exhibition Grant, the form will do the calculations automatically and provide the total down here. So I can go ahead and start filling that out. Okay, so the total has now populated for the Agricultural Exhibition Grant down here. I can then further fill out the Improvements and Repairs Grant. Okay, so now this total has populated as well for Improvements and Repairs Grant, and the total for both of these grants is now showing at the bottom. This is the amount we would be requesting. Section F is Activities of Compliance. Please indicate by checking the boxes which activities your society has undertaken this year to encourage interest and improvement in agriculture. You can check all of the boxes that apply to your society. And should your application be audited by the ministry, you will be required to provide justification and evidence to show how your society performed the checked off statements. If your society has not undertaken any events, please check the bottom box that says my society did not undertake any of the above activities. Please note, you will be required to check off at least one of these boxes to be eligible to receive a grant. Section G, you can check off the box to indicate whether your society has held a fair or exhibition in 2025. Once you check the box, you will then be able to fill in the dates of your annual fair or exhibition. So I can put in the start date and the end date. And this will automatically populate the number of days that the fair was held. Please indicate the approximate attendance at the fair and the total gate receipts. If your society experienced wet weather, which impacted your gate receipts, you can indicate that by selecting this button here. Finally, Section H indicates the Ag and Food Careers Initiative. You can fill in these sections if your society participated and was approved by the ministry to participate in either of these programs. The first is Part A, which is the display and distribution of agri-food careers promotional materials at your fair or event. You'll indicate by checking this box if your society is applying for funding for the $500 per fair day to promote and distribute provided Ontario branded materials to promote agri-food career opportunities at your event. In my case, my society has received the box of materials and displayed them at our fair, so I have checked this box. I will then enter the number of display days, and I can verify that with above. If I displayed materials for all the days of the fair, it would be 3 days. If you displayed it for less than that, please indicate so. This will also automatically calculate the eligible amount. If your society has participated in Part B and been approved for funding for the creation of locally developed agri-food careers promotional materials, you will indicate that by selecting this box and following the prompts that are included in this section. Finally, at the bottom of the form, you will need to review the declaration and sign the form as a signing authority. Please digitally sign the document and click Agree. This will automatically fill in the signature and the date and time. Once everything in the application has been completed, scroll up to the top and click the validation button. There will be a box that will pop up to indicate whether there are any errors or whether the form has been validated successfully. In our case, there is an error that I do need to go fix, which would be in the financial section. So if I press OK, it will bring me right there to continue filling out where I need to. Now that that is done, I will go to the top and validate the form again. This time we can see that the form has been validated successfully. So I can click OK, and then I can save the form. Please ensure you save the form after the validation to save any of the changes you have made.
We can then navigate back to the system and we'll be able to upload our form. We click this button, we can find the form on our computer, choose the file, and then select the upload button. Once your form has successfully uploaded, you'll see something that looks like this. It's now moved us to step 3, which is to attach our supporting documents. So we'll want to select the new button, and we can upload the different documents that are required to be submitted with our form. So the first one that I will upload are the financial statements for my society. And then I will select the attachment type. In my case, these are just financial statements and they don't include the audit report, so I'll select this title. Then I'll select the new button and upload my next attachment. Next, I'll be uploading my financial review certificate. And again, I'll select the attachment type. Finally, I'm going to upload my incoming list of executives